Hi band, welcome back, and today we're gonna learn how to read chord charts. So if you want to play a song and you're looking up the chords for it, this is what you're gonna come across. It's a diagram that tells you how to play a chord. So basically the main job of a chord chart is to tell you where to place your fingers on the fretboard. So let's learn how to read them. And once we get into it, it's actually fairly simple because what a chord chart essentially is just a picture of the fretboard of a guitar. You just have to realize that you're looking at the guitar upright, like this. So I'm just gonna leave it here on the stand for the rest of the video. First of all, what we see are the vertical lines of the grid, and those are our guitar strings. So just like on your guitar, when you're looking at it like this, upright, you'll see the thickest string on the left, the thinnest one on the right. Sometimes this is also drawn into the chart. You'll see that the strings on the left are also drawn a little thicker than the ones on the right, but this is not always the case. Sometimes they're just the same thickness in the diagram. But anyway, you'll know that you're looking at it this way around. Then what we see on the grid is, of course, the horizontal lines. And here you'll notice that the first one on the top is a lot thicker than the rest of them. And that is because it is our nut. So this one right here, the nut of the guitar. That's marked in the chart whenever the chords are played in open position. At this point you might ask, well, what if it's played higher up on the fretboard? And we're going to touch that topic as well later in the video, so stay tuned. But for now, let's focus on the nut. And then the rest of the lines, the horizontal ones, are the frets. So we have 1, 2, 3, and so on. So this is what the grid consists of. We have the strings and we have the frets. Then we of course want to know where to put our fingers on the fretboard. And that is marked with these little dots that appear on the grid. We just have to count which frets and which strings. So for instance, if we have the first string, fret 3, 5th string, fret 2, and 6th string, fret 3, that's our G major chord. So it's very convenient to visualize each chord on the fretboard as shapes or patterns, and this way it's also easier to remember them. But these are not the only things we can see from a chord chart, because also you will see sometimes this X marked on top of a string or several strings, and that means that those strings should not be played as part of the chord. So we want to mute them, and to do that there are several different options. For instance, if it's the 6th string, the thickest one, that should be muted. You can reach out with your thumb over the top of the neck and just touch it slightly so that it mutes it. Or if it's one of the other strings, you can then, with your other fingers, somehow tilt them slightly, or with your fingertip, touch the string that should not be ringing out. Also, you might see these little circles or O's marked at the top for each string. And what that means is that the string is played open. These are not always drawn in though, because they're kind of unnecessary. If there's nothing marked for the string, it just means that it's ringing out open. Then there is of course the question about fingerings. So which finger to place on which dot and in which order. And that is marked most often with numbers, but also finger colors are sometimes used. Like for instance in Yousician, we use finger colors for that. Let's look at the numbers first though. So with guitar, it works so that our thumb is marked with a T, index finger is 1, middle 2, ring 3, and pinky number 4. With the finger colors, it's also very simple. In Yousician, we've given a color to each finger and the dots are drawn in those colors. But there's one thing I really want to say about fingerings at this point, and it is that those are still just recommendations. So it's always just one very commonly used way of playing that chord. But still, if it really feels inconvenient for you, or you've learned to play a chord with different fingerings and it feels more natural to you, that is perfect as well. And also the fingerings might change in context as well. So depending on which chord you're playing and in which order, it might actually be easier to move from one chord to another by using slightly different fingerings than what you maybe have used before. Awesome! So now we have gotten pretty far already. We already know how to read chords, that are written close to the headstock, so when the nut is visible. That's called the open position. But there are other use cases as well. For instance, bar chords, where they're quite often played somewhere higher up on the neck, and suddenly there's no room to visualize or draw in the nut anymore. So if I need to move higher up and I bar, for instance, fret 5 on the guitar, so at this point the nut is not visible in the picture anymore. Instead, the chart starts from the fret that is barred, and that is kind of your movable nut. So in the chord chart, you will also see a number for this, indicating where the pattern starts from. So this is one thing you want to pay attention to, just always to double check whether the first line on the top is a thick one, so you know that you're looking at the chart so that the nut is visible, or if all the horizontal lines are the same thickness, then you know that, okay, this is somewhere higher up on the fretboard, so you need to figure out which fret it starts from. But all in all, that's it. Now you know how to read and understand chord charts. And if you want more tips on how to actually then play your first chords, we have another video where we go through some more tips, also regarding how and where to place your hand positions and stuff like this. Go check that out. And also we've linked a couple blog posts in the description with more tips and tricks on reading chords. Thank you for watching. Again, like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.